Sometimes, the people who love you see things you don't. They notice the details you ignore, the patterns you excuse. And sometimes, they try to warn you, but you don't listen. This is Breakup Diaries. My family hated him from the moment they met him. Not in a loud, obvious way. No arguments. No disrespect. Just something quieter. Something I couldn't explain. It started the night I brought Ryan home for dinner. I remember being nervous, but excited. Because to me, he was perfect. Calm, respectful, easy to love. The kind of man you want your family to like. But the moment we walked in, everything felt off. My mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. My dad shook his hand, but held it just a second too long. And my older sister. She didn't say much at all. She just watched him. Carefully. Like she was trying to figure something out. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. That maybe I was just overthinking. But as the night went on, that feeling didn't go away. It grew. The conversation felt forced. The laughter didn't feel real. And every time Ryan spoke, I noticed something strange. My family would go quiet. Not completely. Just enough to make me aware of it. Like they were listening differently. I kept waiting for something to happen. For someone to say what the problem was. But no one did. Not that night. Not even after he left. When I asked them what they thought, my mom just said, "He seems nice." But it didn't sound like a compliment. And that's when I realized something I couldn't ignore anymore. They didn't just dislike him. They were watching him. Like they knew something. I didn't. If you think they told me what was wrong after that night. Oh, they didn't. That would have been easier. Because at least then, I would have had something real to hold on to. Instead, all I got were looks. Careful words. And warnings that didn't come with explanations. It started the next day. My mom called me earlier than usual. Her voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. Something I couldn't quite place. "I just want you to be careful," she said. "With what?" I asked. There was a pause. Then she said, "Just him." That was it. No details. And no reason. Just a feeling she expected me to trust without question. But how was I supposed to do that? Ryan hadn't done anything wrong. At least, not that I could see. He was still the same person I had been falling for. Still kind, still patient, still there. So instead of listening, I defended him. To her. To my sister. Even to myself. "You don't even know him," I said more than once. But the more I pushed back, the more distant they became. Like they were stepping away from something I couldn't see yet. And the worst part, they never tried to convince me. They never argued. They just watched. That same quiet way they had the night they met him. And somehow, that felt worse than anything they could have said. Because it made me feel like there was something I was missing. Something important. But every time I looked at Ryan, I didn't see it. I saw the man I cared about. The man who made me feel safe. And that made it easy to ignore the doubt. At least for a while. I wish I could say the doubt came all at once. That there was one moment that made everything clear. But it wasn't like that. It was quieter. Slower. The kind of feeling you try to ignore until it won't let you. At first, it was small things. The way Ryan avoided certain questions. Nothing obvious, just subtle shifts. If I asked about his past, he'd smile and change the subject. If I asked about his friends, the answers were always vague. Just people I used to know, he'd say. No names. No details. At the time, I told myself it didn't matter. Everyone has things they don't like talking about. But then there were other moments. Ones that didn't feel so easy to explain. Like the way his mood would change when certain topics came up. Or how he'd go quiet if someone mentioned places he used to live. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Something controlled. Like he was choosing every word carefully. And once I noticed that, I couldn't unsee it. I started paying attention in a different way. Not looking for problems. Just noticing patterns. And the more I noticed, the more uncomfortable I became. Because suddenly, my family's reactions didn't feel random anymore. They felt intentional. Like they had seen something I was only just starting to recognize. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to connect the dots. But the truth is, they were starting to connect on their own. And for the first time since I met him, I found myself asking a question I had been avoiding. What if they weren't wrong? What if the problem wasn't them, but him? I didn't go looking for answers. At least, that's what I told myself. But when something feels off, you start noticing things you used to ignore. Ryan left his jacket at my place one night. Nothing unusual about that. It wasn't the first time. But when I picked it up the next morning, something slipped out of the pocket. A folded piece of paper. I hesitated for a second, then picked it up. I wasn't trying to invade his privacy. I just wanted to understand. At first, it didn't make sense. It looked official. Like some kind of document. But the more I read, the more everything inside me started to shift. It had his name on it. But not the version I knew. A different last name. Different details. And words I couldn't ignore. Records. Dates. Charges. My hands started to shake slightly. Because suddenly, all those moments I couldn't explain started to mean something. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was something real. Something hidden. Something he had chosen not to tell me. I read it again, slower this time. Hoping I had misunderstood. Hoping there was another explanation. But there was. And in that moment, everything changed. The way he spoke. The way he avoided things. The way my family looked at him. It all made sense now. Not completely. But enough. Enough to know that the version of him I believed in wasn't the full truth. And maybe he never had been. I didn't wait this time. I couldn't. By the time Ryan came over that evening, I already knew this conversation was going to change everything. We need to talk, I said. He looked at me, calm as always. But there was something in his eyes. Something that told me he already knew. I held up the paper. That was enough. His expression didn't shift much. Just a small exhale. Like he was tired of hiding. You were going to tell me, I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then finally he said, "It's not what it looks like." I almost laughed. Then what is it?" And that's when the truth came out. Not rushed. Not emotional. Just controlled. He told me about his past. Things he had done. Places he had been. Choices he didn't want to be defined by. And maybe, in another situation, I would have understood. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was that he hid it. From the beginning. From me. You let me build something with you, I said quietly. And you never told me who you really were. He looked at me steady. I didn't want to lose you. And for a second, that almost made it worse. Because it meant he knew. He knew this mattered. And he chose silence anyway. I used to think love meant trusting someone completely. Believing in them, even when things didn't make sense. But standing there, looking at Ryan, I realized something I hadn't before. Trust doesn't mean ignoring the truth. And love doesn't mean closing your eyes. I wish you had told me, I said quietly. He nodded. I know. But knowing didn't change anything. Because the damage wasn't just what he did. It was what he didn't say. The version of himself he chose to hide. And the version of reality I built, based on that silence. I tried to protect you, he added. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. You protected yourself. And that was the difference. Because while he was hiding the truth, my family saw it. From the very beginning. They didn't have all the details. But they felt something. Something I chose to ignore. Not because I didn't see it. But because I didn't want to. And now, standing in the middle of everything I had tried so hard to defend, I finally understood why. They weren't trying to control me. They weren't trying to push him away. They were trying to protect me from something I refused to see. I took a step back, not out of anger, but out of clarity. Because for the first time, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't questioning anything. I just knew. And sometimes, knowing is enough. They didn't hate him. They just saw what I didn't. And the hardest part is, I might have seen it too. If I had listened.